Welcome friends to another r/AmITheJerk video. If you hit those like and subscribe buttons down below, you're free to call me a jerk as much as you want. That said, our first story of the day is by VariousBit3439. Am I the jerk for refusing to help my ex discipline our daughter? I, 41-year-old male, have a 13-year-old daughter, Mandy, with my ex-wife, Jane, 37-year-old female. I would say post-divorce, we had a decent relationship and were cordial for our daughter's sake, but everything changed the day Jane started dating her current husband, Tom, 47-year-old male. I guess she needed to prove to him that she was over me by becoming hostile, because I, for the life of me, can't explain what else could be the reason for her becoming so angry and refusing to follow the custody agreement anymore. Because of my job at the time, she had primary custody, but I was supposed to get every other weekend and summers while we alternated holidays. I had to take my ex to court twice and was just grateful that former mother-in-law was on my side and wouldn't allow Jane to feed Mandy lies about me. I tried to be patient and forgiving in the beginning, but eventually Jane pushed me too far. And now I just handle her with cold aloofness and documenting as much as I can when interacting with her. During the pandemic, Tom and Jane lost their respective jobs and were in danger of losing the house. Jane took me to court for more child support, which I wasn't going to fight, but was mad when she didn't get as much as she wanted. After the decree, I started getting suspicious because Jane and I have equal access to Mandy's college fund, so I decided to add in special protections and alerts. I'm the primary on the account, and Jane was just an authorized signer. Unfortunately, my suspicions were confirmed, and I received a call from the bank about an attempt to take out $10,000. It was Jane, and I was pissed. So pissed that I went to Jane's place and yelled and cursed at her. I knew Mandy was out at the time, so I thought I was in the clear, but didn't realize when she and my former mother-in-law pulled up in the driveway. Mandy didn't hear everything, but she did learn about what her mom tried to do. Mandy's now upset and acting out, and when Jane tries to discipline her, Mandy counters that she'll just live with me and lose the child support Jane and Tom desperately need. Jane's now asking me to help her put up a united front, but after what she did, I'm not looking into doing her any favors. However, my mother-in-law thinks that by allowing Mandy to play us against each other, it'll end up hurting her. Am I the jerk? No, I'm not really one to judge, but the lifestyles and actions of these parents, to me, don't coincide with making sure their kid has the best future possible. If there's a college fund set up for you and you find out that your mom tried to take $10,000 out of it to use for whatever, it would be pretty upsetting, right? It probably would be a strong enough awakening to realize maybe I do want to spend my time with my other parent. I don't think OP owe their ex anything here, and I think they're not the jerk. Do you guys think that in this situation, it's okay for Mandy to play sides like this? Or do you guys think that despite what Jane did, OP should step in and try to do something to prevent this parent versus parent mindset Mandy's going down? I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments down below. Our next story is by Mountain Dew Dilemma. Am I the jerk for hiding the soda? I feel ridiculous for even posting, but I need objective eyes on this. Background: one husband, 2 stepkids, male 15, male 17, married 5 years. We keep separate financial accounts if that makes a difference, and we alternate who buys groceries week to week. Anyway, here's the deal. I don't drink coffee. I drink Mountain Dew or the occasional energy drink for my morning caffeine kick. My husband and my oldest stepson are both coffee drinkers. With increasing frequency, I'll go to grab a drink out of the fridge and all of the soda and energy drinks are gone. The kids have taken to coming home and grabbing 2 to 3 or more sodas, and before they left to their mom's house last week, the 15-year-old was actually packing a 6-pack into his backpack to go. The obvious solution, I thought, was to buy more soda. Yes, I know it's awful for the kids, but if their dad isn't stopping them from sucking down junk food, it's not my deal to intervene. Nope. Still gone to where I'd look in the fridge for one single much-needed energy boost, and nada. So I started asking my husband to pick up soda or a few energy drinks on his grocery shopping week to supplement. His response was that he's not wasting money on garbage like that and to complain about how expensive things like Mountain Dew are these days. Next tactic was to ask that if the kids drink the soda, that they please leave a few behind if it's obvious we're almost out. So I have at least 1 or 2 when I go to grab one. This is where things took a turn for the worse. My husband got irritated that I was policing the food and that no one who lives here should have to ask permission to eat or drink. Fine, I figured if I wanted to have a Mountain Dew or energy drink to myself then, I would just put a little mini fridge in my office and stash a few there. I got a tiny fridge that holds a 6-pack and popped a few in there. I put the cases I buy in my office as well and put a week's worth in the main fridge at a time so they last until I shop again. Yesterday, the 15-year-old complained that there hadn't been Mountain Dew in the fridge for a few days, and my husband grumpily said, "Go get them out of OP's office. She's hiding food and snacks from you guys in there." At this point, I put my foot down and said, I'm hanging on to some of the drinks that I like every week because otherwise I don't get any. And if everyone else drank what I put in the fridge for them before I shopped again, and my husband didn't want to buy any himself, that's just too bad. My husband still refuses to buy the soda himself, but is convinced I'm being a complete and total jerk because I'm hiding what I purchase. So let me just say, as a kid, me and my siblings loved soda. Didn't matter if it was Sprite, Mountain Dew, Pepsi, Coke. We would absolutely ravage whatever was in the fridge. It got to the point where we had a second fridge in the garage, and my dad actually drilled and installed a lock on the side of it so that we couldn't just do nothing but drink soda all day. That said, I think OP's not the jerk. They offered multiple very reasonable solutions, and nobody wanted to accept them and still just consume everything OP was getting. Fundamentally, something's gotta give. OP's going to want one or two at least. They give you the options that you can collaborate on. You refuse to accept any of those, then OP has to go it alone and make sure they got the stuff they want. This next story is by Drunk Speech. Am I the jerk for telling my parents it's their fault I felt relieved about brother's death? I'm a 23-year-old male. This Sunday was my 28-year-old brother's funeral. Nearly everyone from the family attended, just some of the eldest couldn't because of COVID. I haven't seen my family since years and saw them again at the funeral, so everyone said their goodbye and took a look at my brother who laid down in the casket. Some cried and some held their tears back. As I looked at him, I just felt totally relieved, not sad, maybe a little sorry for him. However, the same night, I just planned to stay at my parents' house the first time after years again. Some old childhood friends came over to wish their condolences, and also my best friend. We got to my old room and he brought alcohol, and we drank. I'm someone who just keeps talking and lets out his feelings while drunk, and so I talked. What we didn't know is that my cousin, 15-year-old female, has recorded us without our notice and showed everything to my parents. To put you guys in the picture, my brother's a mentally ill person who had the intelligence of a 3 to 4-year-old. He wasn't even able to be vocal about many things. As I was younger, my parents tried to raise me with the only purpose of being his caregiver, and I hated it. They forced me to clean my brother when I was 10 or 11 years old because I had to learn it anyway. It grossed me out to clean him, change his cloth, and change his diapers. I hated him and my parents. As a 14-year-old, I started to act out, and the police had to bring me back home a couple of times. Even CPS was involved, but nothing happened first. The last time before actions happened, I escaped home for about 2 weeks before police had found me with the rest of the money I stole from Dad's pocket. Then a therapist talked with me from CPS, and it was clear I couldn't go back home. However, this Monday morning, my parents, my aunt, and cousin waited for me downstairs to confront me. There was a lot of yelling. This little goblin recorded me speaking for about 40 minutes. Finally, I burst out and admit that I feel relieved that my brother died, and that it was their fault that I hated him. It just bothers me all the time at the moment, and I honestly don't know if I'm wrong here. While I feel good about it being out of my system, I think it was unfair to kick my grieving parents as they were already suffering. Am I the jerk? I think OP is definitely not the jerk. I think in most situations like this, when somebody like that passes, you probably feel bad for them anyways because of the difficult life they had to lead. That said, at 10 years old, being groomed to be the eventual caretaker of this person that you should have no necessary obligation to change their diapers, change their clothes, clean them, I can see how it very easily generates a lot of resentment. I just wish the best for OP going forward. Our next story is by Rich Slummer. Am I the jerk for telling my friend that she's a jerk? I'm a 32-year-old female. My best childhood friend, 32-year-old female, just became a lawyer and then dumped her boyfriend. My best friend and I grew up in poverty. We haven't had much opportunities for an education. For young women in our area, our options were retail, drug dealing, prostitution, or hoping a rich guy would notice us. For guys, it was retail, drug dealing, or finding one of the few factory jobs remaining. I got lucky. Managed to date a med student, he helped open doors for me, and I've become a teacher in a school in a lower socioeconomic area to provide those opportunities. My husband's now a doctor. My friend tried that option but wasn't as lucky. She was working minimum wage retail at age 25. While doing so, she got friendly with a factory worker, male 30, who came by regularly and they started dating. He knew he was not the academic type. School was not for him. But he also saw potential in my friend and encouraged her to go to school. She had dreams of becoming a criminal prosecutor, and he encouraged her to not give up. He took out whatever loan he could find so that she could get an education. He supported her through and through, did the housework, worked extra shifts, everything so she could get an education. My friend persevered, graduated, and became a lawyer. Shortly after, she broke up with her boyfriend, just as he planned on proposing to her. She said as a professional, she had no interest being married to a working class man and that she deserves a real man. I was horrified and told her that she's betraying a man who has supported her through all this and made her what she is. She got mad and said that it was not the woman's job to pay the bills and that I'm a hypocrite because my husband makes a lot more than me. She further said that the idea of marriage as a life partnership is a patriarchal construct, that she has the right to date whomever she wants, and that as a feminist, I should be supporting her. I told her that she's not only a major jerk, she's giving feminists a bad name because feminism means women financially supporting their male partners as much as in the reverse. I don't know if OP has any other connections with people around their friend here, but if they do, I would be reaching out to them and say, hey, whatever you do, if you're on a lower plane than them in society, be ready because they'll probably turn their back on you. I love the fact that OP comes to the friend and says, this man has supported you through and through however they could. And the friend's response is all just about paying bills and patriarchal constructs. Nothing about the guy that actually legitimately supported them, pushed them to succeed, and got them where they are. Needless to say, that's somebody you cut out of your life and block on any social media you have them on. And our final story of the day is by Concerned Boomer. Am I the jerk for spying without advising anyone in advance? Married with 3 adult kids, all employed and moved out. 6 months ago, 24-year-old single daughter asked to move back home for a year to help save for an apartment. We agreed and charged her only a small rent that I planned to give back if she met her savings goals. This past summer, wife and I went on a vacation and daughter, without our knowledge, held a party at the house. Upon return, we noted items in the house damaged or missing. Daughter admitted to what happened and committed to pay for damaged or stolen items. I was upset and felt the privacy and sanctity of my castle was violated. It made me sick to my stomach that strangers I didn't know were in my house and pilfered through my stuff. I got over it and we moved on. However, I made it very clear to my daughter that no visitors were allowed in our house in the future unless we were present and or approved in advance. Fast forward to the holidays. After Christmas, wife and I went on a 3-day getaway. Prior to leaving, I installed a wireless nanny cam device in the living room that's hooked up to the internet. I did it on my own without advising my wife and daughter, kind of like a trust but verify situation. After a day, I logged into the camera about 9 p.m. and although there wasn't a party going on, my daughter had a guy in the house engaging in an activity I can't unsee. I quickly turned the computer off and told my wife, and then she hit the fan. She accused me of violating my daughter's trust and dignity. She immediately called my daughter and advised that I was spying on her, and our mini getaway devolved into a series of mean-spirited comments and silent treatment. Upon our return home, daughter was in the process of moving out, and without getting into specifics, I'm apparently the equivalent of pond scum. In my defense, what I saw for all of 5 seconds was not expected on my part. Daughter wasn't in a relationship or even dating. Further, she violated my explicit rule of not having guests over. And there was only a single camera that covered the living room, not an area where there's normally an expectation of privacy. Although it's embarrassing all around, I don't think I'm the jerk. I believe I was within my rights to protect and survey my house in the manner that I did. Wife's position is that I had no right to put a camera in the living room without her knowledge, and daughter's position is that if she knew about the camera, she wouldn't have invited anyone over, but nevertheless believes she did nothing wrong as she was a rent-paying adult and was entitled to have a single person over, and what I did was a gross invasion of her privacy. For the record, I didn't pass judgment. Daughter is a mature adult and could have engaged in whatever legal activity she chose, just not in my house involving another person. I definitely understand why OP did what they did, but I'm going to lean towards both parties are jerks in the situation. OP clearly said they didn't want anybody over unless they were told about it in advance. If the daughter said, "Hey, I'm bringing over a date," at 24 years old, that seems like a reasonable thing to ask for, right? On the other spectrum, OP should have told them about the camera. Considering it's in the living room, I doubt they can bring anybody over and have a little mini party without, them all being in the living room. And it would have saved both parties the expense of having that moment exposed like that. What do you guys think? Is OP the jerk? Does everybody kind of suck here? Is OP not a jerk for what they did? I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Of all these stories that I read, if you had a personal favorite, let me know which one and why in the comments down below too. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.